Welcome everyone. The topic for the day is the responsibility, the role, and the competence of the safety professional. These are the peoples on which the prevention of accidents and incidents actually rely upon. So, if it is their diligence which can prevent a loss of property and a loss of life simultaneously. What are the legislation the works what does the legislation says? It tells that the workplace safety health and safety act, which is basically to promote occupational health and safety in the territory to prevent workplace injuries. Remember, this is what we are looking into it, to provide financial compensation that a worker is incapacitated from workplace injuries, if any. That needs to be understood, and establish certain bodies and a fund for a proper administration of act for the related purpose. This is what we are looking into it. As for the workplace health and safety act are concerned, every government will have such kind of preamble in their constitution for the safety of their employees or the citizenship who are interested working in a companies under hazardous condition altogether. Remember, these things are there not only for the benefit of the employees, but it also benefit the companies in the long run in terms of the reputation management, in terms of the public relations and brand building. So, talking about the legislation, the act is basically to protect the workers at work. Definitely, yes, by promoting a culture of safety, awareness, by being responsible. Both the act and the regulation mandates requirements and fines if it is not been followed in true spirit. So code of practices under the acts, basically they are a mandatory requirement for health and safety standard. Absolutely must. You just cannot make them obsolete or overlooked. Minimum standards are stated everywhere, and if there are any solution which achieve the same or better standard, it must be utilized. So basic minimum things has been already been mentioned. Minimum standard, if there are, believe me or not, needs to be taken care of time and again. So we will be speaking about it in due courses of time. Now, the responsibilities of employers and employees are outlined in the Workplace Health and Safety Act. Definitely, yes. What we are looking into it and how do we go approximately. So everything is been demarcated as far as employees and employees are concerned in any of the industry that we are talking about it. How do we go about in implementing such an act? Number one would be inspection, regular inspection to identify the hazard, the assessment and the control of the safe environment, and whether this particular environment is being maintained on a regular fashion and is being tenable or not. So inspection must be carried out to be on a regular basis, if possible on a surprise basis, for occupational health and safety management system. That is what we look into it. Should be on a scheduled basis by a team who are competent, the safety officers for that matter, and their recommendation, and after every basis, after every inspection, should be mentioned as to the hazardous situation which might be existing out there. Where there is a significant change in activities on areas, inspection is a must and must be performed before the commencement of the work we are talking around it. So high risk areas should be inspected more frequently. It is the responsibilities of the staff in the area inspected to take remedial actions within the frame. So we'll talk about the managers and supervisors. Staff in the supervisor capacity are required to ensure regular inspection carried out, and appropriate remedial measures are to be suggested. Please understand, your responsibility doesn't end up by making an inspection. Your responsibility doesn't end up by sensitizing certain key stakeholders. Your responsibility ends by taking remedial actions, suggesting remedial methods, and thereby enacting them. So, SWPs or safe work procedures, what are they? Where a safety hazard exists, it may be appropriate that the safe procedures are clearly demarcated. clearly explained, and if possible posted on a wall that can be easily read and understood. This is what we need to understand it. International signage is useful, but if there are any difficulties as far as understanding those signage, please convert it, translate it into the local dialect as soon as possible. Do not, I repeat, do not repeat, depend on the verbal information or only on the training things once in a blue moon. If possible, document all your information. Procedures should be reviewed from time to time, again and again. So, hazardous substance risk assessment, we are talking, must be completed when dealing with hazardous substances. Definitely, here they are designed to address the key point associated with the substance, such as usage, health effects, hazard identification, control measures, and disposal procedures of the hazardous material. We have this MSDS, or material safety data sheets, for information, for every information with respect to every material that we call around it. The MSDS is a holy. So MSDS, or material safety data sheets, can be obtained from the manufacturer, the supplier, or even through the chemical databases like ChemWatch, probably, if you have it under your government paradigm. So that is mentioned in the website also. Please understand, electronic information might be available, which I said about the website, and the hard copies, if and when warranted, can be produced. Every chemical substance in the workplace should have a printed MSDS, as in material safety data sheets, to understand or intimate the users about the nature of the product. Remember, MSDS gives what? The formula is present around here that needs to be understood altogether. The permissible exposure limit, PEL, we are talking around it. We are talking about the exposures, the effects, the monitoring, measurement procedures, health and hazard information, emergency aid, personal protection, and so on, that comes around it. This we need to put it, document it, and probably this is what they elaborated example as far as leakage, waste disposal, and storage. Labeling of the materials that comes across is the hazardous material that comes. We need to understand what we are looking at it. The labels should be clearly demarcated, should draw the attention of the users who are handling or using the substance for a significant involvement. It should take into account all the hazards which are likely to occur for the use of the substance. Remember, information like product name, chemical, concentration, signal words, UI number, unique number, risk phrases. Everything should be mentioned, including of your expiry date, manufacturer detail, and reference to MSDS. Everything should be mentioned, and you cannot eliminate it. So, talking about labeling, small containers may have insufficient space to include all the information, but in case if the information is vital, it has to be legibly, visibly, clearly readable in the markings of the container. Now, what does the information should have? They should have the product name, the chemical name, the concentration, formula detail, the signal words, the dangerous goods and subsidiary risk level, the unique number, the risk phrases, at least the most significant, the safety phrases, at least the least significant, first aid procedures, manufacturer references and details, to MSDS, the material safety data sheet. Wherein a container of hazardous material substance is very small, the information cannot be provided. You should clearly demarcate product name, chemical name, signal words, dangerous good class, subsidiary risk labels, manufacturer details, and so on and so forth. Definite fashion. Remember, resolution of occupational health and safety issues is all about initiating the issues with your supervisor. Initiating, communicating is a must thing that comes around it. We need to understand this word time and again, which is there. Please have the health safety uh, inactions employment for your reference spot about it. You should have the workplace advisory group, the health safety and environment, or HSE group, present out there. refer to their paperwork, maintain the matters to the universities or to the research bodies for the health and safety comes around it. This is very important and pertinent. Now we'll talk about the hazard. A hazard is any sources for definitive demarcation which is detrimental, which is causing wrong implications onto the life of the employees, onto the property of the employer, which is adverse in situation. So why do we go around it? Sometimes remember, hazard actually harms the health and of rather than any other hazard. For example, disease TB or tuberculosis might be called hazard in general, but TB causes bacteria is considered as hazardous biological agent that we come across it, which we need to understand as far as hazards are concerned. So, what are examples? We have so many examples. We have this pandemic just went by around it. So, we need to understand altogether what are the material, what are the viruses, what are the chemicals which are adverse towards the health of the human being that come. So we'll take over the tables that has been mentioned out here. The object, let's say the example is knife, harm causes cutting. The substance is benzene, the harm causes leukemia or cancer or blood cancer, to be very specific. Materials being asbestos, it can get mesothelmia. It is basically the asbestos dust when inhaled causes mesothelmia. The energy source is electricity, can give you electrocution, shock, or even death. If the condition is wet flow, we can slip, we can fall, we can injure ourselves. The process is welding, it is metal fume fiber that comes around this, quad bike riding, or the crashes that comes around it. So we, what I've tried to tell it to you is the workplace hazard, the examples, and the harm caused around it. That is what is of pertinent usage to the audience of this particular video. We need to understand what happens if you are utilizing knife. It can lead to cut might be fatal also. What will happen would lead to benzene and exposed to the substance, particular substance, or let's say asbestos for that material. So what are the things, what are the examples, and what are the effects of hazard? So accident, injury, and incident reporting. What is we are looking at it, looking out here, the health safety environment, what we are talking about it is what needs to be notified, who needs to be notified. Now, this the action groups, the chair of the action groups that can be notified, kept in a loop. The safety officer has to be going about with the HSE unit that we are talking about in terms of environment, safety, and health. We look forward, sensitize all the responsible people for any form of an accident that comes across it. This is warranted. This is required. This should not be at any point. We'll talk about the manual handling. Manual handling presents a significant risk in most workplaces. There is a manual handling risk. The checklist that comes around it, yes, definitely the risk assessment checklist needs to be followed upon it. Training, we just cannot be avoided. People has to be trained, people has to be sent to a refresher course. They need to perform manual handling of duties for as a part of their training, please understand. And this should be available externally and internally. This is what is very much required. Last but not the least would be a regulation in the code of practice that should be in vogue at. Now we talk about the ergonomics or the screen-based ergonomics. If you look into it, see, check the workstation checklist to make your assessment whether it is on the right side or not. How is your back raised, the lower back? We are talking about it out or not. How is the forearm? If there are any, if there are no, why so no? What are we talking about? The flat feet, the clearance under the work surface that comes around it. It might cause the harms on your knees if they are not cleared around it. The screen positions to avoid reflected glare. So this is what needs to be understood. It has the best practices that needs to be implemented time and again. We come to the first aid and medical assistance. Please believe me or not, this is a must with anything, any of the organization. It can be your any organization for that matter, not forget hospitals, let's say universities, let's say production units, let's say corporate offices, let's say sales fundamental or business process outsourcing unit, and so on and so forth, requires each areas to have a first aid personal things. This is a must thing that comes around it, and it should depend in a direct proportional to the number of people employed. First aid personals are responsible for maintaining the kits of the kits to comply with the current code of practices, keep recording all illness, injuries, and treatment given. Security personals are trained in the first aid and being called unable to locate your first aid officer. If no first aid assistance can be provided, please ask for an external help, get an ambulance, go to a super specialty hospital, and get the employees treated where it is required. So medical practitioner do not basically available in your premises, may not be, but as a result you can always avail the general hospital emergency department. Never make a delay in seeking first aid. Remember, the first impact actually determines whether it will prove how fatal that accident or injury would be all about. So emergencies, we talk about the emergencies time and again everywhere. Need to evacuate the building in cases there are emergency which happens around it. Proceeds directly to the designated area, assembly area. Wait for all clear signal from the fire brigade officers till you move to your workstation again. Never enter the building when there is the alarm which is being played upon. Do not, in cases of fire, do not use lifts or elevators. Always take the staircase or physically, manually evacuate yourself. Do not take any assistance of any other medium per se. Familiarize yourself with the work plan, the floor plan of the building. You are there, what is your designated things, and so on. That needs to be of an utmost important. With this, I come to an end of this presentation. Thank you for watching this video.